Thank you very much, everyone, for being here now in English. Canadians must stand united. United in putting our country first, united for our workers, our consumers, our families. We must stand united in condemning the unjustified tariffs by President Trump, and we must stand united for the many people who are now afraid for their jobs and their livelihoods. I've spent the last 2 days here at ground zero of the trade dispute right here in Windsor, Ontario, the industrial backbone of our country. I met with auto workers, mold makers, and countless other trades, small business owners. They feed their families with their relentless hard work. And we must judge all of our actions in this trade dispute by one measuring stick. What are the results for the people, for the workers, for the families, for the seniors across this country? Many of the workers I met with here in Windsor were afraid. They're worried. I met with one auto worker yesterday who said, "Will I still have a job?" I saw fear in his eyes. How is he going to pay his mortgage? How is he going to pay for his kid's hockey registration? What if he loses his job? How far away will he have to move? What conversation will he have to have with his children at the dinner table if he has to tell them that they're selling the house, they're leaving, changing schools, and moving to a far away place so that they can pay their bills? Our people have suffered enough over the last 10 years. Raging inflation has made it impossible for many to afford groceries. Single mothers are forced to turn back items at the grocery checkout because their bank accounts empty before their grocery carts do. An entire generation of youth is shut out of home ownership as we have the most expensive housing in the G7. And then there's the people who have to empty their bank to fill up their tank because of high gas prices. Factories have moved south. Jobs have left the country. 30 mills have already closed in British Columbia. The people who used to donate to our food banks are now forced to take donations because they can't pay their bills. And now the highest number of insolvencies since the Great Global Recession means that families are literally selling their homes and assets to pay their mortgages as they toss a turn at night wondering if they might have to declare bankruptcy. And when tariffs strike automotive plants, mold-making businesses, they force layoffs. It is moms and dads going home to tell their kids that they'll have to say goodbye to their friends. It is communities that shut down. It is people that suffer. In all the noise and the drama, we cannot forget that we are talking about people's lives, their jobs, their cost of living, their paychecks. Everything we do, everything must be focused on protecting their jobs and cost of living. That is what Conservatives are focused on. And that is why later today I'll be talking with the Prime Minister on the phone, and I'll be asking him to recall Parliament for a real economic plan to protect jobs and lower the cost of living for people as we go through this difficult time. Conservatives are ready to join with all parties to lock arms and fight for affordability, for jobs, and for the country that we love. We need real action in Parliament, and there are reasons why we cannot wait. Parliament has work to do. First, Canadians deserve to know what is the deal that the Prime Minister at first planned to accept and then later decided to reject. Release the proposed text. Let's be clear, there are no national secrets in that text. It's already been shown to the United States administration. The President has seen it. His negotiators have seen it. The United States has seen it. Canadians deserve to see it. We're asking him to release the details of what was proposed in that agreement so that we can find out both what our government was fighting to achieve and what the Americans were demanding and what it is that was unacceptable and required we walk away. Transparency is essential, especially important after the government gave false information about the Gordie Howe Bridge. The truth only became known after the agreement was released. Canadians deserve to know what was on the table so all of us can know what we are fighting for and what we're fighting against. Second, We asked the Prime Minister today to reveal the cost to individual families of his proposed counter tariffs. He said the other day that tariffs are taxes. That is a quote. So what will the retaliatory tariffs mean for grocery bills, gas prices, and the cost of everyday goods? How much more will families have to pay? And where will the tariff revenues go? Canadians are already spending more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. They cannot afford to pay more for groceries, gas, and housing. And so we want the Prime Minister to lay out very clearly what are the costs and how will Canadian families be made whole. We need to focus on the affordability of the bills that Canadians pay, and that takes information in Parliament and action by all parties in that chamber. Third, we are calling for the introduction of a new economic action plan to jolt Canada's stalled economy, make life more affordable, and protect the jobs of Canadians in this escalating tariff dispute. Let's be clear. We cannot have any more tinkering, administrative adjustments, all wrapped in big speeches and fancy announcements. We need real action. Canadians have been suffering even before this latest escalation. The only economy in the G7 to be in a recession. The slowest growth in the G7. 5 consecutive quarters of falling investment since this Prime Minister took office. We have the largest number of insolvencies since the Great Global Recession, and a massive increase at the food banks. All of this was before the latest round of tariff escalation. We need real action right now. And that's why Conservatives will put forward an economic action plan in Canada's Parliament. It will include removing all capital gains tax on reinvestments in Canada to bring back the over $1 trillion that has fled our economy over the last decade. Cancelling gas and diesel taxes until at least Canada Day 2027 to save families $1,000 and to make it more affordable for our businesses to transport goods and reach markets. Scrapping anti-development laws like C-69 and C-48, which remain in place, and greenlighting the 500 projects that are awaiting federal approval right now. Many of them have been waiting for years. Get the government out of the way, permit those projects, and get people building. Scrap the industrial carbon tax on steel, aluminum, fertilizer, concrete, cement, oil, gas, and other basic essentials that are building blocks of a modern economy so that we can reindustrialize rather than deindustrialize. We need to also support our auto sector by encouraging Canadians to buy Canadian cars. And that one way the government can help is let's take the GST off all Canadian-made automobiles. And I send the message out to my fellow Canadians. Buy Canadian. Look at the label. Make sure that the things you're buying have as much Canadian content as humanly possible. Support your fellow workers and stand up for our country. We all need to do that, of all parties. We need to join together in a spirit of Canada first. Now, the Prime Minister promised that he'd have a deal with the U.S. by July 21st, 2025. He said that he could negotiate a win and handle President Trump. He said he would get an even better deal than we had before he came to office. A year and a half after those promises, tariffs are higher than ever, and we have far larger, wider tariffs on many more goods. Making a series of preemptive concessions, expecting to get generosity at the bargaining table was not the right move. Only using our leverage will do that. And Conservatives have a real plan to employ our leverage to fight these tariffs. We have the resources that the United States needs. We can commit to building up a strategic mineral and energy reserve that will be only available to those countries that give our country tariff-free access. We can also use our massive military spending as a point of leverage. We can push for a 1965-style auto pack, which ultimately built the auto sector in Detroit, Windsor, Oshawa, and countless other places. We can do that to repatriate production back to our countries. That is a real plan to fight for tariff-free access. but it means pulling together, proposing solutions, and also demanding accountability for our people. Our mission is an economy that is affordable at home, autonomous at home, and strong at home, with stronger take-home pay, safer streets, and a secure border within a self-reliant Canada. Conservatives are ready to do the work. Let's get back to Parliament. Let's fight for affordability. Let's fight for our jobs. And let's fight for Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now take questions from reporters. Please identify yourself and your outlet.
Sorry, didn't know I was first. Hi, Maureen with Blackburn News. You talk about scrapping carbon tax. Are we scrapping all climate protections in favor of getting the economy going?
Well, the industrial carbon tax is not a climate protection. It is a tax. It's a money grab that simply weighs down our steel, aluminum, autos, and other core industries. The Americans don't have that tax. The Europeans are exempting heavy industry from that tax. The Chinese economy doesn't pay that tax. So it doesn't help the environment to drive production out of our economy into hostile overseas economies by taxing our industry into the ground. What we need to do is reduce the governmental costs for our industry so that they can actually compete while bringing home the investment and jobs for our people. So no, this is not about the environment. This does not. The industrial carbon tax has nothing to do with the environment. It is a cash grab that kills jobs for our people and drives up the costs for our consumers.
Good morning, Rob Hindy from AM 800. Just want to get your thoughts. You talked about how you talked to a worker yesterday. I guess overall, what would your message be to the people of Windsor-Essex?
We're going to fight for you. We have an incredible group of members of Parliament here. Harb Gill, a former police officer who's been fighting for this community his whole life. Kathy Borelli, lifelong Windsor resident who's lived the story of the great immigrant families from Italy who came and literally built Windsor, and Chris Lewis from the Essex County who's been fighting for the people in that region all along. We will fight for you. We're going to fight for your job, and we will not relent. Canada needs a thriving automotive sector as part of our economic security, but also our national security. And so we've got a real plan to save and grow our auto sector, taking taxes, sales taxes off of Canadian-made automobiles so our people buy Canadian, fighting for a tariff-free auto pack, stopping the backdoor EV mandate, getting rid of the industrial carbon tax, lowering the cost of energy on production. All of those things will make it possible for us to compete and for our incredible auto workers to keep their jobs and grow their paychecks. Sorry,
Good morning.
Follow up. Let this fella finish up here.
Sorry, one more. Just yesterday, Premier Doug Ford made some comments. Just want to get your thoughts on, I guess, premiers making comments about what's going on.
Well, we all got to band together and fight for Canada, regardless of our level of government or our party affiliation. We're all in this together to fight for the Canadian economy and its people. So, everything I do is focused on the jobs and the cost of living of Canadians. Every utterance I make and every policy we put forward should be about protecting the jobs and making life affordable for the hardworking Canadians who have suffered enough. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Bob Belichico, CTV. Just wondering how fast can Parliament reconvene? And then two, is how important is it for both sides of the aisle to unite in this time of crisis, I guess?
Look, I think unity is important. Let me start with your first question. The Parliament could be reconvened in a couple of days, and I'm speaking to the Prime Minister. What is it now? Well, I don't know what time it is, but it's at 8:30, so that's why I'm a bit crunched to wrap up a little bit early today. But I'll be speaking with him and reiterating to him that we all need to put Canada first. We're all fierce competitors in the political arena, but we're also believers in our country. And so we will be there to fight for jobs and fight for an affordable cost of living for our people. Parliament could be recalled in 24 to 48 hours. And we're happy to cooperate with the government to get that done, because at the end of the day, it's about putting our country first.
Thank you. This concludes today's press conference.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone.